The Watcher's Contempt. The holographic display flickered in the grand chamber of the Meridian Collective's High Council, casting an ethereal blue glow across the assembled alien dignitaries. Supreme Overseer Karlith, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, studied the projection of Earth with what could only be described as disdain. "This is what has caused such concern among our Outer Rim patrols," he asked, his voice resonating through the neural network that connected all present council members. "A civilization that still relies on chemical propulsion for their primary defense platforms." The assembled council members shifted their varied forms in agreement, some rippling with bioluminescent amusement, others emanating pheromones of contempt. First Observer Tekra, a towering insectoid, stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic display. "Our long-range scans confirm it, Supreme Overseer. Their orbital defense grid consists of primitive kinetic weapons and basic energy shields. Their most advanced vessels barely achieve 0.1 light speed." She manipulated the display with a graceful wave of her upper appendages. "They have established minor colonies on their neighboring planets, but the technology appears to be rudimentary at best." Deep in the shadows of the chamber, Ambassador Venthal remained silent, his thoughts carefully shielded from the neural network. After 3 centuries of studying emerging civilizations, something about the humans' technological progression troubled him. The gaps in their development seemed too convenient, too carefully arranged. "What of their ground-based defenses?" Hexarlith inquired, his crystalline structure pulsing with subtle patterns of authority. "Equally unimpressive," Tekra responded, bringing up new holographic overlays. "Standard missile systems, electromagnetic pulse generators, and a scattered network of energy projection facilities. Nothing that could withstand even our smallest scout vessels." In her private laboratory beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the exchange through quantum-entangled sensors so advanced they defied conventional detection. Her aging hands, steadied by neural implants that hadn't existed in any public database, manipulated streams of data flowing through the Sentinel network. 40 years of preparation, of carefully orchestrated technological leaks and false developments, had led to this moment. "They show no signs of being aware of our presence." Xarlith's question brought her attention back to the council chamber. "None, Supreme Overseer. Their primitive detection systems remain focused on their own solar system. They seem entirely unaware of the greater galactic community." Dr. Chen allowed herself a small smile as she initiated another subtle subroutine in the quantum network. "Let them believe that," she thought. "Let them all believe that." The council chamber erupted in a cascade of neural signals as members shared their assessment of Earth's capabilities. Most radiated confidence, some even anticipating the prestige they would gain from participating in such an easy acquisition of a resource-rich world. "The invasion fleet stands ready," Tekra announced. 500 vessels, though I suspect we need not commit more than a fraction of that force. Their defenses will crumble within hours." Ambassador Venthal finally stepped forward, his form shifting like liquid mercury. "Supreme Overseer, if I may. In my studies of human history, I've noticed a peculiar pattern. They often appear weak precisely when they are strongest." "You suggest deception." Hexarlith's crystalline form flickered with mild amusement. "From a species that cannot even detect our presence?" "I suggest caution," Venthal replied carefully. "The humans have a concept they call rope-a-dope from their combat sports. They—" "Enough," Karlith interrupted. "Your fascination with human culture is noted, Ambassador, but we have reviewed all available data. The invasion will proceed as planned." His form pulsed with finality. "First Observer, you may commence the operation at your discretion." In her laboratory, Dr. Chen opened a secure channel to the United Earth Defense Council. "They've made their decision," she reported, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Everything is proceeding as we projected." 40 years, Council President Santos responded, his holographic form shimmering beside her workstation. 40 years of hiding our true capabilities, of carefully crafted leaks and false technological trails. Are we ready, Doctor? Chen glanced at the quantum displays surrounding her, each showing a different aspect of the Sentinel network. Satellites that appeared primitive to outside observers but contained technology that had taken 4 decades to perfect. Defense platforms that masked their true nature behind facades of simplicity. And deep beneath the surface of Luma, the culmination of humanity's greatest technological achievement, waiting silently. We're ready, she confirmed. The quantum entanglement grid is stable. The moment they commit their forces, we'll have real-time targeting data for the entire invasion fleet. She paused, allowing herself a moment of reflection. They see exactly what we want them to see. A young species, barely space-capable, ripe for conquest. Their arrogance will be their undoing. Very well, Santos nodded. Initiate final protocol. And Sarah, thank you for everything. As the council chamber emptied, Ambassador Venthal made one final attempt. Supreme Overseer, please. There's something about their technological progression that doesn't add up. The gaps in their development. Your concern is noted, Ambassador. Tarlith responded dismissively. But the time for debate has passed. The invasion fleet launches in 6 hours. Soon, Earth will be another productive member of the collective, whether they wish it or not. In her laboratory, Dr. Chen closed her eyes and thought of all the sacrifices that had led to this moment. The years of secrecy, the carefully maintained facade of technological inferiority, the countless scientists and engineers who had dedicated their lives to this grand deception. Soon, the Meridian Collective would learn why humanity had chosen to appear weak. They would learn why Earth had seemed to lag behind in conventional technology, while secretly mastering quantum mechanics at levels beyond anything the Collective had achieved. They would learn, as so many others had throughout human history, that underestimating humanity was a grave mistake. Begin final preparations, she commanded, her voice carrying to defense installations hidden across the solar system. And may whatever gods they believe in have mercy on their souls. Echoes of preparation. Sarah Chen stood before the quantum display in her laboratory, watching as the invasion fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system. Her mind drifted back to that pivotal day 40 years ago when everything changed. The memory was as clear as ever. A young physicist standing in a basement laboratory at MIT, staring at unexpected readings from a quantum tunneling experiment. She hadn't been looking for evidence of alien civilizations. She'd been researching quantum entanglement for potential faster-than-light communication. But there it was, proof of advanced technological civilizations, hidden in the quantum noise of space-time itself. She remembered running the numbers again and again, her hands shaking as she realized the implications. Humanity wasn't alone, and they weren't ready. The quantum signatures suggested civilizations far more advanced than Earth's, and some of them didn't seem particularly peaceful. Dr. Chen, the voice of her assistant, Marcus Wong, brought her back to the present. The collective fleet has finished their formation. Initial estimates suggest they'll begin their approach in 30 minutes. Sarah nodded, her augmented eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. Have they detected any of our quantum sensors? No, Doctor. The masking algorithms are holding perfectly. They still think they're completely undetectable to our technology. She allowed herself a small smile, remembering the day they'd cracked that particular problem. It had been 15 years into the project, after countless failures and setbacks. The breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. A marine biology student's paper on how certain deep-sea creatures masked their electrical signatures. Send out the final verification signal to all Sentinel nodes, she ordered. I want every quantum relay tested before they enter the inner solar system. As Marcus worked, Sarah's mind returned to those early years. After her discovery, she'd taken her findings directly to the United Earth Defense Council. To their credit, they'd understood the implications immediately. Within days, Project Sentinel had been born, humanity's secret preparation for inevitable first contact. The challenge had been maintaining the deception. They needed to advance human technology to previously unimaginable levels while appearing to progress at a normal, even slightly slow rate. Every public breakthrough had to be carefully planned, every technological advancement measured and partially concealed. They'd leaked carefully crafted breadcrumbs about their research into conventional space travel and defense systems, making sure any watching eyes would see exactly what they expected. A young species still grappling with the basics of spaceflight. Meanwhile, deep underground and inside hollow asteroids, humanity's true technological revolution had unfolded. "Doctor," Marcus called out, "you should see this. We're picking up some unusual quantum fluctuations from one of the collective's scout ships." Sarah moved to his console, her neural implants connecting directly with the sensor feeds. "They're scanning for quantum signatures," she realized. "Someone over there is being cautious." Her thoughts went to Ambassador Venthal and his obvious concerns. "Adjust the masking protocols. Let's give them something to find, just enough to reinforce their superiority complex." The real genius of Project Sentinel hadn't been the technology itself, though that was revolutionary enough. The true masterpiece was the psychology behind it. Humanity had studied the reports of other civilizations that had faced similar invasions. The pattern was clear. Technologically advanced species tended to underestimate primitive ones, often fatally. So they'd built their defense strategy around that arrogance. Every piece of technology visible to the outside world was designed to look less advanced than it was. Their orbital platforms appeared to be simple kinetic weapon platforms, while actually housing quantum-linked targeting systems. Their space vessels seemed to rely on conventional propulsion, hiding the quantum drive systems within. And deep beneath the lunar surface waited humanity's greatest achievement, the quantum nexus, a network of artificially generated micro-wormholes, allowing instantaneous response across the entire solar system. The collective thought they were facing a scattered, poorly coordinated defense system. Instead, they were about to encounter a single unified defense grid with zero reaction time. "Final system check complete," Marcus reported. "All Sentinel nodes are responding perfectly. The quantum entanglement grid is stable and undetected." Sarah walked to the main viewing window, looking up at the mountain peaks above. Somewhere up there, hidden by clouds and advanced stealth systems, the first wave of collective ships would soon appear. They would expect to find an easy target, a primitive civilization ripe for conquest. Instead, they would face the culmination of 40 years of human ingenuity, desperation, and determination. Every apparent weakness had been carefully crafted. Every technological gap had been intentionally created. They had turned humanity's greatest disadvantage, their late arrival to the galactic stage, into their greatest weapon. "Send the final authorization code," she ordered. "And Marcus, thank you for everything." The young man nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. They had both given their lives to this project, along with thousands of others. Scientists, engineers, military personnel. An entire generation dedicated to preparing for this day, all while maintaining absolute secrecy. As the invasion fleet began their approach, Sarah thought about all the sacrifices that had brought them here. The relationships never pursued, the families never started, the normal lives never lived. All to give humanity this chance, this one perfect moment to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. The silent strike. First observer Tekra stood on the bridge of the collective's flagship, the Eternal Dawn, watching with satisfaction as Earth grew larger in the main display. The invasion fleet had passed Mars without detecting so much as an automated defense system. These humans were even more primitive than their initial scans had suggested. "Launch the first wave," she commanded, her mandibles clicking with anticipation. Standard conquest formation. No need for elaborate tactics against such basic defenses. 100 ships broke formation, accelerating toward Earth. Their sensors showed exactly what they expected. Primitive orbital platforms, scattered defensive satellites, and a handful of space stations that could barely be called military installations. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the approaching fleet through quantum-linked displays that showed their every movement in perfect detail. They're proceeding exactly as the psychological models predicted, she noted, her augmented eyes tracking multiple data streams simultaneously. Begin passive quantum field generation. Across the solar system, hidden installations activated. There was no visible sign, no energy signature that conventional sensors could detect. But the varied fabric of space-time began to shift, imperceptibly at first, then with growing intensity. On the eternal dawn, a junior sensor operator frowned at his readings. First observer, I'm detecting some unusual quantum fluctuations. They're very faint. But interference from their primitive shielding systems. Nothing more. Tekra dismissed. Continue the advance. The first wave of ships was now passing lunar orbit. Their crews were relaxed, almost casual. Some were already discussing how they would spend their share of the conquest bounty. None of them noticed the subtle changes in the quantum field around them. They're in position, Marcus reported to Dr. Chen. All ships are within the primary engagement zone. Sarah took a deep breath, thinking of all the years of preparation that had led to this moment. Initialize the quantum nexus. Deep beneath the lunar surface, humanity's greatest achievement awakened. The quantum nexus, a massive array of artificially generated micro-wormholes, began to hum with power. Each wormhole was precisely positioned, creating a web of quantum-entangled space that encompassed the entire inner solar system. On the eternal dawn, the sensor operator's concern grew. First observer, the quantum fluctuations are increasing exponentially. I've never seen readings like this. Before Tekra could respond, space itself seemed to twist around her ships. The carefully maintained formation of the first wave suddenly meant nothing as the very fabric of reality began to operate according to new rules, rules that humanity had spent 40 years learning to manipulate. What's happening? Tekra demanded as her ships began to report massive systems failures. The quantum field manipulation was rendering their advanced technology useless, turning their own energy systems against them. Dr. Chen's voice, transmitted simultaneously to every ship in the invasion fleet through their own communication systems, was calm and clear. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. For 40 years, we have prepared for this moment. You see before you not the primitive defenses you expected, but the culmination of humanity's greatest achievement, the ability to manipulate the quantum field itself. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, chaos erupted as systems began to fail. Weapons wouldn't fire. Shields flickered and died. Even their advanced quantum communications were being turned into weapons against them. Impossible. Tekra rage. Their technology is primitive. We saw their defense systems. You saw what we wanted you to see, Sarah replied. Every primitive defense platform, every basic satellite, every seemingly outdated technology was carefully crafted to hide our true capabilities. While you watched our apparent struggles with basic spaceflight, we mastered quantum field manipulation on a scale you haven't even theorized yet. The first wave of invasion ships hung helpless in space, caught in a web of quantum fields that rendered their technology useless. Some tried to retreat, only to find that conventional propulsion systems no longer functioned as expected in the altered spacetime around them. Ambassador Venethal, watching from the council chamber through quantum-linked feeds, finally understood. The gaps in their development, he whispered. They weren't gaps at all. They were choices. They deliberately appeared to lag behind in conventional technology, while mastering something entirely different. Sarah's voice continued, heard on every ship in the fleet. We are transmitting coordinates for a safe retreat vector. Use it. Leave our solar system. Spread the word to others who might consider Earth an easy target. We have no desire for conquest or expansion, but we will defend ourselves. To demonstrate their point, a single quantum pulse disabled the flagship's primary systems, leaving it dead in space. The message was clear. If humanity wished it, they could destroy the entire fleet. Instead, they were offering mercy. Tekra, her mandibles trembling with rage and fear, gave the order to retreat. As the invasion fleet struggled to turn around in the quantum-affected space, she realized that they had fallen into the perfect trap. Humanity hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had staged an elaborate 40-year deception to ensure they would face an overconfident enemy. "We spent 4 decades appearing weak," Sarah concluded, "because we knew that your greatest weakness would be your own sense of superiority. Remember this day. Remember that on Earth, things are rarely what they seem." Ripples of change. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Meridian Collective buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 100 alien civilizations gathered for an emergency session. The failed invasion of Earth had sent shockwaves through galactic society, appending centuries of established power dynamics in a single day. Supreme Overseer Sarlith's crystalline form showed visible stress fractures as he faced the assembled delegates. The humiliation of retreat still burned, but there were larger concerns now. Humanity's mastery of quantum field manipulation had implications far beyond military matters. "The humans have requested to address this assembly," he announced, his voice carrying none of its former authority. "They have agreed to share certain aspects of their technological development in exchange for considerations." Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram materialized in the center of the hall, her presence somehow commanding despite her small human frame. Age had taken its toll over the decades of preparation, but her augmented eyes gleamed with the same determination that had driven Project Sentinel from the start. "Distinguished representatives," she began, "I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a scientist. What you witnessed in our solar system was not merely a defense system. It was a proof of concept. Quantum field manipulation on that scale has applications far beyond military use." In the shadows of the hall, Ambassador Venthal watched with growing fascination. The humans were playing a deeper game than simple deterrence. They weren't just protecting themselves. They were reshaping the entire balance of power. "Our research suggests that quantum field manipulation could revolutionize space travel, energy production, and even planetary climate control," Sarah continued. "We are prepared to share this knowledge, under certain conditions." The assembly erupted in a chaos of mural signals and verbal exclamations. First Observer Tekra, demoted but still present, felt her mandibles twitch with renewed anger. "You would dare dictate terms to the collective." "We would dare to suggest a new way forward," Sarah corrected calmly. "One based on cooperation rather than conquest. The old model of galactic expansion through force is obsolete. We proved that in our solar system." Back on Earth, Marcus Wong stood in the lunar observation post, watching the quantum feeds of the assembly. 40 years of secrecy were giving way to a new era of open development, but not everyone was happy about it. Several militant factions within Earth's own government had pushed for using their technological advantage to establish human dominance in the galaxy. "The terms are simple," Sarah was saying to the assembly. "Equal exchange of scientific knowledge, guaranteed sovereignty for developing civilizations, and the establishment of a new coalition focused on peaceful technological advancement." Exarlith's crystalline form vibrated with suppressed emotion. "And if we refuse, then we maintain our isolation, and you lose access to technology that could transform your civilization. We've demonstrated our ability to defend ourselves. We have no need to prove anything further." In a private chamber adjacent to the assembly hall, representatives from various factions were already meeting in secret. Some saw opportunity in this upheaval, others threatened rebellion against the collective's authority, and a few began plotting ways to steal or replicate Earth's quantum technology. Sarah was aware of all of these meetings through quantum-entangled sensors that the collective still couldn't detect. Humanity's apparent openness was, like everything else, carefully calculated. They were revealing enough to revolutionize galactic society, while keeping key aspects of their technology secret. "There's movement among the outer rim worlds," Marcus reported through their secure quantum link. "Several civilizations are already indicating their support for the new coalition." Sarah nodded slightly, careful not to let her hologram show the gesture. Everything was proceeding according to the sociological models they'd developed. The collective's failure had created a power vacuum, and nature, even on a galactic scale, abhorred a vacuum. Ambassador Venthal finally stepped forward, his mercury-like form reflecting the chamber's lights. "I move that we accept the humans' proposal," he announced. "They have shown us not just superior technology, but superior wisdom. They could have destroyed our fleet, yet they chose mercy. They could demand surrender, yet they offer partnership." The assembly's mood began to shift. Other representatives stood to voice their support, while the traditional power blocks of the collective found themselves increasingly isolated. "A new era begins," Sarah concluded, her hologram addressing the assembly one final time. "The choice is yours whether to embrace it or cling to the old ways. But understand this, humanity will never again be underestimated, nor will we stand idle while stronger powers prey upon the weak." As the assembly descended into intense debate, Sarah's hologram faded. In her laboratory beneath the Himalayas, she finally allowed herself to relax slightly. The hardest part wasn't over. Managing peace would prove more challenging than preparing for war, but humanity had secured its place among the stars. 40 years of preparation. Marcus mused through their link. "And now we begin the real work." "Yes," Sarah agreed, watching the quantum feeds as various factions began maneuvering for position in the new galactic order. "But this time, we do it openly. Mostly." She smiled, knowing that humanity's greatest weapons had never been their quantum technology or their clever deceptions. It had been their ability to adapt, to think long-term, and to turn apparent weakness into strength. The galaxy was changing, and humanity would help shape that change, openly where possible, secretly where necessary. A new dawn. 1 year after humanity's revelation to the galactic community, Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of humanity's first official embassy to the stars, watching ships from a dozen different species moving through the quantum-stabilized space lanes around Earth. Each vessel now carried a human-designed quantum field generator, a symbol of the new era of cooperation they had engineered. "The latest reports from the rim worlds are in," Marcus said, approaching with a quantum tablet. Now serving as Earth's chief diplomatic officer, he had aged gracefully, his neural implants keeping his mind as sharp as ever. 3 more civilizations have joined the coalition. That makes 28 in total. Sarah nodded, her augmented eyes taking in multiple data streams simultaneously. The coalition of progressive species, as it was now known, had grown faster than even their most optimistic projections had suggested. The Meridian Collective's influence was waning, replaced by a new order based on technological cooperation and mutual defense. "And the surveillance network?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Old habits died hard." "Still undetected," Marcus confirmed. "Though I wonder if we'll need it much longer. The quantum field technology has changed everything, just as we predicted." In the depths of space, former collective warships now carried scientific expeditions. The quantum field generators that had once rendered their weapons useless now powered faster than light drives and enabled instant communication across vast distances. Humanity's gift to the galaxy had indeed transformed civilization, exactly as planned. Ambassador Venethal, now the coalition's chief scientific liaison, materialized beside them in quantum-projected form. "Dr. Chen, the results from the Proxima Centauri trials are extraordinary. The quantum fields are not just enabling faster travel, they're actually stabilizing local space-time. We could potentially establish permanent wormholes between star systems." As intended, Sarah replied with a slight smile. This too had been part of the plan. The gradual release of capabilities they had mastered decades ago, each revelation carefully timed to maintain humanity's technological edge while fostering genuine cooperation. In the former Collective High Council chamber, now repurposed as the Coalition's Central Assembly, Supreme Overseer Tarlith's successor led a very different kind of meeting. The focus was on integrating new members, sharing technological advances, and maintaining peace among the species. The old politics of dominance and conquest seemed increasingly antiquated. "You should be proud," Marcus said to Sarah as they watched ships from former enemy species dock peacefully at the orbital station. 40 years of preparation didn't just save humanity. It transformed the galaxy. "We're not finished yet," Sarah reminded him, bringing up a secure quantum display. This was only Phase 1. The display showed data that even their closest allies didn't know existed. Research into dimensional physics that went far beyond quantum field manipulation. Theoretical models of consciousness transfer across quantum states. Studies of space-time manipulation that would make their current revolutionary technology look primitive. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology," Sarah continued, watching as a group of alien scientists boarded the station, eager to collaborate with human researchers. "It was our patience, our ability to think in decades rather than years, to plan not just for survival, but for a future worth surviving for." Former First Observer Tekra, now a junior representative to the coalition, passed them in the corridor. She had learned humility since the failed invasion, and now worked tirelessly to promote cooperation between species. "Dr. Chen," she acknowledged with a respectful click of her mandibles, "the quantum field adaptations for our biology have been approved. My people send their gratitude." Sarah nodded graciously, another piece falling into place. The quantum technology they had shared was designed to be adaptable, to work with the biology and existing technology of each species. It created connections, dependencies, and alliances, a web of cooperation as intricate as the quantum fields themselves. "Launch the Phase 2 protocols," she instructed Marcus after Tekra had passed. "It's time to begin the next stage of human advancement." "Already?" Marcus asked, surprised. "The coalition is barely established, which makes it the perfect time," Sarah explained. "While everyone is focused on mastering the technology we've already shared, we'll be laying the groundwork for the next revolution. In 40 years, when they think they've caught up to us, we'll be ready to transform the galaxy again." As if to emphasize her point, a new ship appeared at the edge of the solar system, its quantum drive creating a beautiful ripple in space-time. It was a joint venture, designed by humans, and built by 6 different species working together. A symbol of cooperation, of progress, and of humanity's subtle guidance of galactic civilization. "We learned from history," Sarah said, watching the ship approach. "Every empire based on force eventually falls, but an empire based on shared knowledge, mutual benefit, and carefully maintained technological advantages, that can last forever." Marcus smiled, understanding at last the full scope of what they had achieved. "Not an empire," he corrected gently. "A federation. A true coalition of equals, even if some equals remain more equal than others." Sarah's augmented eyes tracked the movement of ships, people, and quantum data streams flowing around their world. Humanity had emerged from isolation not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers, guides, and silent guardians of a new galactic order. They had transformed potential enemies into allies, turned a moment of crisis into an opportunity for lasting change, and done it all without firing a shot. "To the future," she said softly, initiating the Phase 2 protocols with a thought. Far below the lunar surface, in chambers even deeper than the original quantum nexus, new systems began to power up. Humanity's next great leap forward was beginning, and as before, they would bring the galaxy with them, one carefully measured step at a time. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And humanity, through patience, wisdom, and careful planning, had ensured they would help shape that cooperation for generations to come.